Hey guys, I am going to walk us through the study guide that you all completed yesterday. Hopefully this will make more sense than just simply putting up the key to see if you're getting them right. I'll go through and explain each of them just like I would in class. And hopefully this will help prepare you a little bit more than just throwing up the key before tomorrow's test. Tomorrow when you test, please have out your notes. You may use your calculator, you can use the study guide, use whatever you have so that you can do well on tomorrow's test. Okay, and then obviously once you submit it, you are done. So make sure that you are going slow and you're checking your work, and do not submit it until you are ready to submit. Once you hit submit, it is final. Okay. All right, here we go. And I may do this video in two parts. That way it's not like really long. Okay, so on number one, we're filling in the missing equivalent numbers. 34%, we should know that this is 34 over 100. Percentages are always out of 100, which is 34 hundredths. You need to make sure that all of your fractions are in simplest form. Okay, so if we're dividing the numerator and denominator by 2, you should get 17 fiftieths. The second one, 5 and 35 hundredths. I write that as 5 and 35 hundredths. I will simplify again by dividing both the top and bottom by 5 and get 5 and 7/20. Remember, when we go from a decimal to percent, we can move it twice to the right, get 535%. On the next one, 2 and 7/8. Remember, use your calculator, okay? 7/8 in your calculator says 0.875. So 2 and 78, or 2 and 7/8 would be 2 and 875 thousandths. Move it twice to the right to get your percent, 287.5%. 685 thousandths. Again, I'll go ahead and start with my percent, move it twice to the right and get 68.5%. Going back over to the decimal, say it. We're going to write it the way we say it, 685 thousandths. So 685,000. They both end in zeros or fives, so I know that they both can be simplified with a 5 to get 137 over 200. Again, use your calculator. This one, 0.12%. That is really small. It's 0.12%, okay? To go back over to a decimal, we can move it twice to the left now to get 0.0012. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10 thousandths. That says 12 10 thousandths. We can divide by 4 as our greatest common factor to get 2,500. Very small. 67 hundredths. That is already in simplest form. 67% once you move that decimal twice to the right. Okay. On the next page, we're using a number line to order the numbers from least to greatest. And it says to convert to all the same form showing your work. And then it says plot original numbers on the number line. I don't really care about the plotting of the numbers on the number line. I just want to see your work. Making them all the same form, percentages, is going to be the easiest. And then ordering them from least to greatest in the original form. So 100 or 125% is already done for us. 122, that one's easy. That's just 122%. 6/5 we know is 1 whole and 1/5. I know 1 whole is 100%. I know 1/5 times 20 is 20%. So this would be 120%. And then when I'm listing them from least to greatest, 6/5 would come first as 120%, and then 1 and 22 hundredths, and then finally 125%. That would be least to greatest. On number 8, same thing, 42%. This would be 43%. On this one, I'm just going to type it into the calculator. 17 divided by 40 is 0.425, which would be 42.5%. And then we can list them from least to greatest in their original form. So 42% would be first or least, then 17/40ths, and then 0 and 43/100ths. Okay. Moving on to number 9, it says the table shows the results of 8 teams competing in a scavenger hunt. Which team collected the most items? Which team collected the fewest items? Show your work, change all to one form. Okay, we know that 3/4 is 0.75, which would be 75%. 0.8 would be 80%. That one's already done for us. Number 4 would be 82.5%. 29/40ths I'm going to put into the calculator, and it says 0.725, which is 72.5%. And you move it twice to the right. 76.25% is done for us. The 7th one, 63 divided by 80. Again, I'm using my calculator. It says 0.7875, which is 78.75%. And number 8 is done for us. Okay, so which team collected the most? The largest number I see, I think, is right here. Team 4 with 82.5%. And the one with the fewest, 72, right beside it, 72.5%. Okay. Let's go on to the next page. Write and solve a proportion to answer the questions. Okay. Pay attention, we're solving proportions. Remember, when we solve the proportion, we do the percent goes over 100, is over of. Remember that, okay? 10, what number is, don't know my is, 40% of 50. So 40%, we're going to write like this. What number is, don't know, of 50. 50 goes on the bottom. Okay, we can solve by doing our cross products. 100 times x is 100x. Use your calculator. 50 times 40 is 2,000. To solve for x, we divide. We do the inverse to get that variable by itself. So x is 200. I'm sorry, x is 20. Okay. 11, same thing. 35 is, now it gave us our is, what percent? We don't know our percent now, so it says what percent. 35 is, and then it says of 25. 25 goes on the bottom this time. Solve it the same way. 25 times x is 25x. 100 times 35 is 3,500. And divide by 25 to get that x by itself. So x is 140%. Okay. The next two say write and solve an equation. So now instead of a proportion, we're writing an equation to answer the question. 135 is, remember is means equals. So 135 is, it says what percent? So we wrote it like that in class of our notes. Of means we're multiplying of 500. Remember that we're going to solve for the variable. So instead of multiplying by 500, we're going to divide both sides by 500 to get that what percent by itself. Now remember, these are the tricky ones. This is going to come out as a decimal. You'll have to turn it into a percent. So 135 divided by 500, and your calculator says 0.27. That's not your answer. Change that into a percent. 0.27 is 27%. Okay. Number 1342 is means equals 21%. Remember, whenever we have the percentages, automatically we turn them into a decimal. Of means multiply. What number is where we throw our x. So times n or times x. To solve for our variable, we're going to do the inverse and divide by 0.21. And if you do 42 divided by 0.21, n is 200. Okay. And number 14, a quarterback completed 68% of his passes. 68% we can write like this. He threw 25 passes. That would be the whole. How many did he complete? How many out of 25 did he complete? You can do this as a proportion or an equation, whichever you prefer. 100 times x is 100x. 68 times 25 is 1,700, and we'll divide by 100 to get that x by itself. So x is 17. He completed 17 out of the 25 passes. Always check your work. I'm going to do 17 divided by 25 in my calculator. It says 0.68, which is 68%. Makes sense. Okay, I'm going to stop the video there. And then I will do a second one for the second half of the study guide. So it'll take my video forever to load if I don't do two.